The USA is the biblical Israel. Look closely at the next slide. It is the key to understanding the political, religious, economic, military, and social conditions in the world's last empire. The last empire being the USA, UK, Canada, Australia, NATO, and the European Union. I don't think I've left anything out. The next slide, is a calendar that sheds some light on events starting with Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, etc., juxtaposed against George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson, etc. The calendar leads up to and includes the Second Coming in 1998. The USA is a mirror image of ancient Israel. The USA is head of the Eighth Empire. Now, here's that slide. And Abraham is juxtaposed against George Washington, Isaac against John Adams, Jacob is Thomas Jefferson. I repeat. Jacob is Thomas Jefferson, reincarnated in 1743. And there's a list of comparisons that follow, which I shall read from in just a moment or two. Further, the 42 prophet kings, philosopher priests of Matthew, Luke mirror the first 42 presidents of the United States. The USA is also head of the 7th, 8th, and last world power, which is a renewal of Greece, Rome. So the next slide is actually a repeat of the second slide, and just for emphasis, let me just repeat what I just said in the second slide. Abraham is juxtaposed against George Washington. Isaac against John Adams, that's the second president, against the second patriarch there. Jacob actually is Thomas Jefferson. That is, Thomas Jefferson is a reincarnation of Jacob, aka Israel. Now let's go to a further description here. And what I have listed first is Thomas Jefferson is the reincarnation of Jacob, aka Israel, and Caliph Umar. Prophet Muhammad is the reincarnation of Moses. Barack Obama is the reincarnation of Abraham Lincoln. Now the comparisons show the similar or the opposite. Some of the comparisons are listed below. Number one, I mentioned a couple of times, Abraham and George Washington moved away from their nations and started new nations. Washington was a warrior. Abraham fought against Chedorlaomer. That's Genesis 14:5. Number three, Jacob, that is Israel, is the father through his offspring of the Hebrew nation and the West. Jefferson is the father of the ideals of the United States. That is, Jacob and Jefferson are juxtaposed against each other. Number 14, Franklin Pierce became the youngest president of his time. He hastened the Civil War by signing the Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854. David was a young warrior, and the best in his character was the opposite of Pierce's. Number 15, Solomon was wise and had about 1,000 wives, so they say. James Buchanan is considered one of the worst presidents because of his lack of judgment and moral courage, and the only bachelor president. So you see Solomon juxtaposed against James Buchanan. They're opposites, almost exact opposites. Number 16, Abraham Lincoln saved the Union and is considered a moral individual. His counterpart, Rehoboam, presided over the breakup of the Jewish state into Judah and Israel. Rehoboam was immoral. Okay, so you see here again, Abraham Lincoln being given this situation where the Union was in jeopardy, and he saved it, and the counterpart was presented with the breakup of the Jewish state of Judah and Israel, or into Judah and Israel, and he did not prevent it. It took place. So that's where we have the mirror description. Number 28, Woodrow Wilson was a good man. His counterpart, Jeconiah, was a scoundrel. Woodrow Wilson used to be considered a good man, I should say, maybe. Nowadays, he's not looked upon as being such a good person. Number 30, Calvin Coolidge said the business of America is business. Salathiel, the counterpart, said the business of Israel was justice and righteousness. Number 39, Jacob, of course, is another word which means James, Jimmy, Israel, and it means, a quote, he who would provide service to his fellow man. So Jimmy Carter works for Habitat, an organization that provides services from man to his fellow man. Number 40, Joseph, Jesus' father, helped to prepare a channel that became the hope of humanity. The world is forever indebted to him. He went to Egypt to avoid death through his son. The counterpart, Ronald Reagan, presided over the USA becoming the world's biggest debtor nation. Also, the national debt went from 1 trillion to 3 trillion. Reagan invaded tiny Grenada and bullied other small nations. He also said things that had little or no resemblance to facts. Many USA citizens just loved Reagan. Number 42. Jesus was oppressed. He'll be number 41, and escaped to Egypt to save his life. As the Christ, number 42, he made a way for many to save many lives, to tell the truth, to be of service, to heal the sick, to give man hope, to free the captives, to encourage those who fight against evil, to feed the hungry, to lift the oppressed, to comfort the weary, to lead man back to his final destination. Bush, number 41, the counterpart to Jesus, invaded Panama. He killed the children and women and men in his way. He murdered tens of thousands of children, women, and men in Iraq. The USA citizens loved it, or most of them. Jesus the oppressed, Bush the oppressor. Opposites. During the time of Bill Clinton, he is number 42 opposite Christ. The price of oil declined to about $10 to $11 per barrel. Surpluses appeared in the federal budget. The internet and .com bubble appeared, and some thought that the Clinton era prosperity signaled the end of regular economic cycles. This is part of the miraculous phenomenon. And this reminds us of Jesus feeding the multitude of 5,000 men, women, plus women and children, with 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and taking up, after everyone had eaten, 12 baskets full of fragments that remained. Matthew 14:17 through 21. And the 4,000 men, plus women and children, fed with 7 loaves and a few little fishes, unquote. And they took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full. Matthew 15:34 through 38. After Jesus left the scene, and after Stephen was stoned in 34 AD, the covenant with ancient Israel ended, and the dispensation or mission torch. The torch was given in turn to the Christians and then to the Muslims. And after Clinton, the covenant with America ended. So the Supreme Court selected the next president, George W. Bush. So now I just described part of what happens, or what happened in the beginning of the second coming, with those miraculous types of situations and the surpluses in the budget and all that stuff. And there are a lot of other things that followed. For example, I was looking sometime recently, looking at a number of the miraculous companies that have emerged since 1998. And Google is a company that started in 1998. And we have since then, of course, Twitter. We have Facebook. We have a lot of those social media companies that are basically, what they do is they present a kind of miraculous type of phenomenon, and that along with smartphones, etc. These are the types of miraculous things that have happened. Now, there are other things that happen that show a great difference in things that were prior to 1998 and afterwards. For example, of course, in 2001, you had the 9/11 attacks, and you had other things like the snipers, snipers that were involved in the D.C. area after George Bush became president. So there are a lot of things that we'll get into later. And make sure that you like this post and that you support it.